Good morning, Silicon Valley, and welcome to everyone watching on live stream. I think you all agree it was worth seeing that to the end, wasn't it? Now, you may also be thinking to yourself, who are all these beautiful people? And if I was to tell you they were all our customers, would you believe me? Well, of course, all our customers are beautiful people. But the important thing is that every story that you just heard little snippets of is based on actual customer experiences. Our customers are revolutionizing their worlds. And today, I want to talk about specifically how we are going about revolutionizing customer engagement and why customer engagement is so important to each and every one of us. You know, we are extremely proud to have announced the industry's first engagement database, a database that is designed specifically to improve the way in which we treat our customers, the experiences that they engage in. And today, in this presentation, I want to talk a little about the kinds of changes that are impacting our businesses that are requiring us to focus on this specific issue. I want to talk about what needs to be done to address these new challenges. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the customer stories, what our customers have been doing and how they've been overcoming the obstacles and achieving the rewards that are associated with revolutionary customer engagement. The fact is that technology is transforming all of our industries. All of our businesses are being impacted by technology, regardless of the vertical market that you're focused on. But the fact of the matter is that despite significant investment in digital transformation, it is not delivering on the promise. Yet, the focus of that digital transformation is in the single most important area for every one of our businesses, and that is customer engagement. The investment around giving customers a truly exceptional experience comes about because today it is so easy for customers to make different choices. The reality is that the engagement economy is becoming the economy. The changes that our customers are expecting are raising the bar on us every single day. And the reality is that yesterday's impossible is becoming tomorrow's benchmark. The first organization that to offer a better product or a better service than you can in your industry will attract customers to it faster than you can blink. Speed of innovation is one of the keys to success in this emerging economy. Now, we use the term customer engagement and not just customer experience. Why do we do that? Very simply, because engagement comes about through a succession of positive experiences. It's not about the moment, it's about the many moments. The reality is every single touch point contributes to our overall experience with a given organization or a given brand. So it's critically important that there is consistency in the way that those experiences are delivered over time. And that's why we talk about customer engagement and not just customer experience. And at the end of the day, what we are seeking to achieve is to create not just a rational connection with our brand, but an emotional connection with our brand, an emotional connection that comes about through those multiple experiences. And I thought it would be interesting to share a little story with you about the importance of this and the experience that I had recently. Because there is a huge difference in terms of the result if we get it right or if we get it wrong. And this data would suggest that 90% of customers will stay with those organizations that deliver those positive experiences, but only a third when they experience as little as one poor touch point, one poor experience. So just recently, my wife was in the market for a new car. In fact, she had an existing car that was coming to the end of its lease. That car is a Volvo, and Volvo are very proud of their approach to building brand loyalty, and so we were expecting a very good experience. And in reality, we did go to the dealer, despite what Matt said. It seemed that that was an important thing for us to do so that we could try out this new vehicle. And we talked to the dealer about this new vehicle that was coming available in the market. It wasn't quite ready yet. There was going to be a gap between the end of her lease and the beginning or when this car could be shipped. So we said to the dealer, well, can we just extend the lease a few more months? And the dealer said, yes, that should be no problem at all. And we said, great, can you take care of that for us? And they said, no. And we said, why not? And they said, well, you're going to have to talk to the leasing company. That's a subsidiary. That's an arm of we can't do that for you. You have to call them. So my wife turned to me, of course, and said, so Pete, can you give them a call? I said, absolutely. I have so much time in my day. I can find time to do that. Not a problem at all. So I carved out, the requisite 3 minutes, which became 20 minutes, actually, on the phone, waiting for them to answer. When eventually they answered, and I explained the situation, they said, no problem. You just have to fill out a form. I said, great. Can we do that now? They said, no. I said, why not? They said, because you have to fill in a form that we're going to mail to you. I said, hold on. We're living in the digital age. Is this not an online form? Nope. Sorry. OK, great. So then phone down, wait for the form to arrive in the mail. I get a phone call. Hi, this is Volvo. Great. What next? Did you receive the form? Yes, thank you. The form has arrived. Could you fill it out and then fax it back to us? I said, fax it back to you. I said, can't I just scan it and email it? No, you can't do that. You need to fax it to us. I said, look, do you have a fax machine? She went, oh yeah, we have loads of fax machines. I said, no, not on the receiving end. Do you personally, do you have a fax machine? I do not have a fax machine. I have not had a fax machine for about a decade. What am I supposed to do? I'm sorry, that is the process. That's what you have. So I fill out the form. I take it to UPS. They charge me $3. I send in my fax. How do you think I'm feeling about this brand now? Presumably great cars, but not such a great experience. Makes you think, doesn't it? Ask yourself, how complex was that process that I just described to you? That was, from their perspective, just a minor completion of a sale that they considered to have already been completed. In reality, they could have lost that deal right there. So this thing is not easy, is it? We all understand that. We can apply that to ourselves. And now I'm going to contend there are two reasons why it's not easy. The first is because of us. It's actually about a human experience. And many of us like to say that we suffer from ADD. Well, actually, here's the thing. There is some justification for us to make those claims, although I am believing that that is something that did not used to exist medically just a few years ago. But here's the deal. Our attention span is shortening by the year. In fact, over the last 15 years, our attention span has reduced from 12 seconds to just now 8.25 seconds. Why is that important? Because the attention span of a goldfish now exceeds the attention span of a human being at 9 seconds. We have a limited amount of time, people, to make a difference in the lives of our customers and our coworkers. So there is a human challenge. It's a real one. There's also a technical challenge, and that is the one that we're focused on today. The fact of the matter is we have very high expectations now from the applications and the websites that serve us. And it's extremely important that we build beautiful apps that are highly engaging. But there's something that's often missing from picture, and that is an app really is only as good as the data that is served up to it in that very limited amount of time that's available to provide that information. That data needs to be fresh, it needs to be relevant, and it needs to be available. And those three requirements typically are not provided by today's underlying data infrastructure. There's another very important trend that's occurring right now, and that is the shift from focusing on transactions to focusing on interactions. The reality is that each of us now spend far more time interacting with an app before we make a final decision, whether that's to purchase something or whether that's to watch something, or whether that's to ultimately transfer money from one place to another. It plays out in many different ways. But the fact is, if you are clicking on a link, if you are liking a tweet, if you're starting a game, if you're entering a search term, if you're completing a form, if you're hovering on a web button or starting a video or changing its volume or having a conversation with a chatbot, whoever that is, shooting a virtual alien or adding an item to an online shopping cart, those are all interactions that ultimately lead to the transaction. And that explosive growth in interactions is creating this pressure that we are seeing on our existing data infrastructure. In fact, the ratio between interactions and transactions now exceeds 1,000 to 1. 1,000 to 1. What that means is that your transactional database is servicing now less than 1% of the data that matters to your business, because it's in the interactions that your customers are making choices about whether to pursue the experience or whether to find someone else to deliver that service or product instead. And as I mentioned, it plays out across every industry today. In fact, there is a ratio that is now described across almost every industry. It turns out that in the e-commerce world, it's the look-to-book ratio. In the e-commerce world, it's browse-to-buy. In travel and hospitality, it's look-to-book. Amadeus, one of our customers, tell us that now it exceeds 1,000 to 1 in the travel industry. Every time you go online to find that next flight or book that hotel, over 1,000 inquiries will be hitting the database before you decide on that final place to go or flight to choose. So it really is something that is becoming universal. So I want to talk a little bit about why these digital transformation projects are failing. If enterprises believe that over 90% of those projects fail to deliver on the business outcomes that are expected, it's important for us to understand why there is a problem and how people have been trying to solve that problem. And the reality is, before Couchbase, before engagement databases, most organizations were trying to take their existing legacy transactional database and stretch it into this new world. And despite the addition, in many cases, of more intelligence in their analytical environment, their ability to be responsive to the business requirements, the ability to be flexible in the way that they use data, has meant that they've been unable to serve these new requirements. And it might be added, it's an extremely expensive venture to try and take that legacy infrastructure and adapt it for this new world. The second approach that many organizations have taken is to attempt to pull in other technologies and other products and layer it around the existing infrastructure, resulting in what is commonly known as database sprawl. Maybe a bit of caching technology, maybe a key value store, maybe a dedicated search engine. The reality is that managing all of this new infrastructure is becoming extremely complex, extremely challenging. Agility is what ultimately suffers, and from that suffers our customers' experience. So database sprawl is no solution, yet it's where many organizations are today. Our contention is that there is a space and a place for an integrated data platform that is designed to deliver exceptional customer experiences while simultaneously accelerating innovation and reducing complexity. That's the promise of the engagement database, and you'll notice that it is positioned as complementary to the existing transactional database infrastructure and the emerging analytical environment. We firmly believe that transactional databases will continue to exist for a long time, much as mainframes have existed in the modern computing age. But the job that they do becomes increasingly narrowly defined. It's that last mile of the journey. And for some organizations, that's no longer the priority. That's no longer the focus. In fact, it is sufficient for them to encompass their entire use case within the context of engagement and the engagement database. And some of those customer journeys are going to be shared through the course of the conference today. So the engagement database, we think, is a radical change in the database world that will have a long-term and meaningful impact on the world in which we all exist. It is radical enough for us to claim that we think it changes everything. And we invite you to spend time today getting under the covers and deep in this new environment. And as we were thinking about the needs of our customers and how that translated into a set of attributes for an engagement database, whether delivered by Couchbase or anyone else, we came up with 6 areas that we think are absolutely fundamental. The first is cloud readiness. In fact, we call it cloud native, or nativity, if that's not a term associated with something else. But being cloud native means specific things. It doesn't just mean that it operates in the cloud. In fact, about 1/3 of our customers are running our product in the public cloud today. What it really means is the ability to seamlessly distribute data anywhere and everywhere, from the cloud to the edge. It means the ability to provide flexible data locality. Bring the data to the application, bring the data to the user, not the other way around. And it also means built-in recovery. One of the values of having a distributed infrastructure environment is the ability to take advantage of the benefits of each of those environments, from bare metal to private cloud to public cloud, across all of those environments. Most of our organizations are in some form of transition. We have some legacy infrastructure. We're moving into a cloud-only environment, but we're bridging those two. Couchbase allows us to get across those two seamlessly. The second key attribute for an engagement database is mobility. It's inconceivable, isn't it, that we would think differently about users requiring access through mobile devices versus through a website or online environment. As users, there is no distinction from us today. Yet, from a data infrastructure point of view, historically, they have been very separated. The engagement database needs to be able to handle web, mobile, and IoT seamlessly with a local mobile embedded database environment in the device that allows us to continue operating as if we had full access to all of the data on the back end, even when that connectivity is intermittent or non-existent for periods of time. So think offline first applications. The richness that we need to be able to deliver in that environment, that's clearly something we would expect from our engagement database. It needs to have built-in smarts. It needs to have full text search, real-time analytics, big data connectors, because we're operating in an ecosystem where we need to be able to interact well with the transactional environment, with the analytical environments. It needs to be built for change at scale. The fact of the matter is, for many of us, we have unpredictable demands. We cannot forecast accurately into the future what it's going to require from a data perspective. Many of our customers find themselves managing what they consider to be significant risk associated with the ability or inability to forecast accurately. So the database needs to be able to respond with a flexible schema and simple, elastic scalability. It needs to be always on and always fast. It's not difficult, technologists tell me, to build for performance or to build for scale. The challenge is building for performance at scale and delivering consistent user experiences when you reach the billions of users, as we do for some of our clients. With built-in fault tolerance, the engagement database allows us to deliver that consistent high performance to get the data when you need it, wherever you need it. And then finally, security. Not something that we should be brushing over. In fact, famously, some other database vendors have experienced significant problems in this area, with tens of thousands of their databases exposed, of the data in those databases exposed publicly and inappropriately. With the engagement database, we have a security model, or require a security model, that allows us to secure data at rest, in motion, at the edge, at the core. A multi-layered security environment. Those are 6 key attributes that we think are essential to success. So let me now talk a little bit about some customers that are using this new engagement database to transform their own worlds in multiple verticals. Now, one of the customers that I love talking about is Pokemon Go. Not, I must confess, because I'm a Pokemon Go user, I am one of the few that is not. But it is exciting to me because Pokemon did not know, or Niantic, who created this game, did not know how successful it would be. But they did understand the importance of being able to change rapidly. They were kind enough to give us the best view of what to expect. Within a day, they had already exceeded their worst-case scenario for demand on their platform. And they came to us and asked us to help them scale and grow, which we were able to do. You may know that within just a few days of the launch of that game, they had more users than Twitter. This is a very, very fast-growing game. Today, still 5 million daily active users. Couchbase provides the scale and the consistent user experience at scale to allow them to continue to grow without interruption and without impact from a user perspective. And by the way, speed to deployment, less than 3 months for them. So a very successful game, a very successful project, and building on a platform that they had confidence would scale with them. And speaking of scale, United Airlines, major presence here in Silicon Valley, the world's third largest airline as measured by revenue, over 4,500 daily departures. What you might not realize is that up to a third of those departures are impacted by unscheduled changes, most of which they mask from us as the traveler the best way that they can. But the unscheduled changes typically relate to people. Their ability to get crew in the right place at the right time to accommodate all of the demands of their systems presents tremendous challenges for them. They spend over $50 billion a year on people-related expenses. It's a huge part of their business. They came to us to help them streamline that crew management infrastructure. Customers aren't always on the outside. Often, we're servicing our internal customers who impact our external customers. This is a project that started with one use case. We have over 17 use cases now in their environment. It is a true platform for digital transformation. For LinkedIn, another extraordinary story. Over 450 million members worldwide today, billions of page hits per day. They have what they call a source of truth data store that is now based around Couchbase. Less than 4 milliseconds of latency for 2.5 billion items. All in-memory storage at LinkedIn is done by database, powering over 10 million queries per second. It's a huge scaling issue for them, and managing cost was actually the single biggest driver for them to implement the Couchbase infrastructure. So as Matt talked about earlier on, 3 primary business advantages of working with Couchbase, not just about improving experience and customer engagement, speeding innovation, and reducing cost. And here we are, Marriott Hotels, another significant presence across the country and across the world. Over $38 billion in reservations annually, 4,200 properties, 79 countries, I should say. Tremendous infrastructure to be managed. They were mainframe-based, and they needed to move away from that environment to deploy new applications faster and more reliably. Today, over 30 million documents accessed at 4,000 transactions per second. So again, I'm just trying to give you a sense of the scalability and the confidence that our customers have in building these future environments on our infrastructure. And finally, a tremendous story here from Tommy Hilfiger, building the future of retail with digital showrooms. They will have over 25 digital showrooms by the end of next year. This was really all about shortening supply chain. A 66% reduction in buying trip time for them meant inventory advantage, it meant time to market advantage, it meant business efficiency. And it meant that they could out-innovate their competition. So a tremendous range of customers, each focused on revolutionizing the way that they do business. So let me wrap it up by just talking a little bit about starting a revolution. When we say revolution, what we mean to us, a dramatic and far-reaching change in ways of thinking and behaving that spark a powerful chain reaction. And that concept of chain reaction, we thought a lot about how to bring it to life. Many of you have asked me the question, so where does your graphics and imagery come from? Well, actually, we had a tremendous amount of fun creating this video to try to articulate this idea that a single idea starts with a single person, but sparks a vision of what might be, creating a sense of exceptional, beyond imagining. One of the challenges with creating the future is that people haven't been there yet. So you have to give them a way to think about it. And we've tried to express that through a very rich visual metaphor. The fact of the matter is that any one of us can be the spark that starts the revolution. And you're here with us today, we believe, because you want to be part of that journey, that you care about transforming the environment that you're in, the experience that your customers gain. And our mission is to help you achieve your vision and your ideas. We want to help you turn customer experience into customer euphoria with the Couchbase data platform.